Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live, and welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones. Let me say it again. Welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast, the place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, meets movies, along with music as well as inspiration, of course. I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter /X at 301 King Von Jr. You can follow the show's Twitter /X page at Victory Pod 1. I'm also on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. You can follow the show's Instagram page at Victorious Ones Podcast. I'm also a social media producer for the unpopular review wrestling show Perfect Plex Talk Radio. Of course, on Mondays at 6 p.m. Hosted by friend of the program, Mike Knox. And so it's a lot to say all the time. Someone would like to say, so what are we here to talk about? You know what I mean? So this has been a heavy weekend, if you will, because right now the time is truly now, as you can see right now, with the shirt and memoriam of John Cena's, babyface hero era, if you will. Cena's last time is now, and he is, he's definitely. Definitely going out on a different note, if you will. I'm going to talk about that pretty soon. That's going to be the body of this episode for real. And so of course I want to talk about a few things. For one, when it comes to the NBA, give out some NBA news, especially since we're done, with the NFL season. Saquon just signed a contract extension, like a 2 or 3 year contract extension with Philadelphia Eagles. So as far as that, congrats to him. And also, especially when it comes to huge congratulations to LeBron James for 50,000 combined career points. We include both the regular season and the playoffs. So he's the only player in NBA history that have 40,000 regular season points. So now you include the 10K, the 10K that he has in playoffs. There you go. So that's a major, milestone for him. But another news on the flip side, unfortunately for the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving is out for the rest of the season, with a torn ACL. And it's just like a domino effect, a ripple effect when it comes to the Mavericks. So it's just like one thing after the other. So it's been a domino effect ever since that Luka trade. I've never seen anything like this before, like ever in NBA history, as far as I can recall. Now I know that there has been, I've witnessed a lot of game-changing free agency, acquisitions and trades and things like that. That with a pendulum swung more so in one team's favor, and then the other team has a recovery. Well, there have been a few of those have happened. Like for instance, when Shaq went to the Lakers, Orlando, had a long time to recover. If anything, they just hit a gradual, nosedive after that. Penny Hardaway started getting injured and things like that. And of course, we saw the rise of Kobe on the other end with the Lakers, and of course, LA became a dynasty, and Shaq became a legend, Kobe as well, and the rest is history. And so seeing things like that. We've seen when LeBron went to Miami, and the Cavaliers, they took a while for definitely set them back for a while. And so of course with KD going to the Warriors, OKC was sent back for a long time themselves, because now they're making a resurgence with SGA. But this could be in this could fall into that category as well. So as far as that, and then suddenly look up and the Lakers are adding near the top of the West. Let me go and look at these standings real quick, and then I'm going to go into other talks, especially when it comes to wrestling. As a matter of fact, we are in second place second place, ladies and gentlemen. 39 and 21, right behind the Thunder at 50 and 11. Look at that. Look at that. The Luka effect, the Luka the Don effect, if you will. You know what I mean? Like the Luka factor. When it comes to Los Angeles, you know, you can't spell Luka without LA. You know what I mean? So, hey, like this, I'm doing it right. Yeah. So, absolutely, I'm definitely excited about that. But yeah, you know, like that's really what it is. And also, it's also on this past weekend was Oscars. I mean, that was what it was, whatever, yada yada yada. And so, and by the way, a shout out to Adam Sandler, for being the MVP in my estimation. Especially with his Lydia Shorts, out there. I mean, that's typically how it is in LA. I mean, if anything, I should know, especially since I've been there last year and the year before. Well, back in 2023 when I went to LA for WrestleMania, weather was it was definitely pretty chilly. I found myself wearing a hoodie and shorts a lot of that time myself. So, but yeah, like I said, outside that, you know what I mean. So it's just like, but like I said, pretty much, I mean, other than that, like I said, the Oscars, I wouldn't really check it for it like that, to be honest with you. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. But also in other news, as far as comic wise stuff is concerned, Hasbro just announced that beginning tomorrow, they will start they'll start the pre-order of for the Doctor Doom helmet. So you pre-order, start the pre-order by tomorrow. Of course, the standard price $99.99, like any other and any of the other merchandise, like Marvel Legends, helmets or gear and stuff, like things like that. Like I said, if you pre-order now, then it's going to be available for release officially in the summer. So yeah, so that's going to be huge. I've been talking about that for the longest time. I've been looking forward to to Doctor Doom helmet, especially since I'm going to be cosplaying as Doctor Doom Awesome Con. I might as well just get a Doctor Doom mask from Amazon for right now. But by the time summer comes, especially once to do Awesome Con again next year, just the time for Doomsday and stuff. Then it's gonna be on, and also in other comic culture, pop culture news or whatever, BlurCon is gonna be taking place. It's gonna be taking place this weekend. Over near the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Crystal City, here in Arlington, Virginia, the DMV area. And so BlurCon is, Blur is Black Nerd, Black, nerd comic convention and stuff like that. So the theme of this year for BlurCon is Thriller. So I am definitely, I'm definitely prepared for that, more than prepared for it. I'm definitely understanding the assignment, and it's definitely a very special treat, if you will. And so yeah, like pretty much, I know my costume's gonna be thriller themed without question. For those that want to know, more on that later. I'm not gonna give a spoiler, but you'll find out. But yeah, and also a special guest for BlurCon this year, first time ever, Janelle Monáe. So I'm definitely excited. So like once I found out, I was like, yeah, let me go and get that ticket now. And so of course I'm glad I got my ticket this past weekend. You know what I mean? So like I said, I definitely look forward to that. I'm going to talk about that. Talk about that more next week. And this is going to be the very first time, as far as I know, first time that BlurCon has ever first time BlurCon has ever taken place in March. Because every other year, like every year. It's always in July, in the peak of summer, which is the hottest time of the year. People walk around in costumes in the middle of July. Like I'm talking about heavy duty costumes. Like, how do you do that? God bless you. Because it couldn't be me. But yeah, like I said, BlurCon this year, it's going to fall on the weekend of March 7th through the 9th. So that's what that is. And now, without further ado, I definitely want to dive into the week in wrestling and what a week it has been. And so, all right, cool. But yeah, anyway, some dive into the week of wrestling. And this past Friday, SmackDown was a very last Friday for Black History Month, February 28th, and it's the final episode of WWE TV before the Elimination Chamber PLE on Saturday in Toronto. And so it was the last chance that management had to make any additions or changes to the show. And so we see that of course, I talked about how Cody was set to meet The Rock on Saturday to decide whether he wants to sell his soul to the final boss. And like I said, I'm going to talk more about that later. And it may sound like a plot of a video game, and better believe it's definitely a storyline for wrestling. It sounds very video game-ish, but it's definitely very much wrestling. Which is almost bizarre to believe, right? And also, and because SmackDown was in Toronto, Toronto's very own, the Queen of Toronto, Canadian Queen herself, Trish Stratus, made an appearance on Blue Brand on SmackDown to have a tag match with her tag team partner and her generational successor, Tiffany Stratton, along with her Nia Jackson cancel, rated on the weekend. And so I like how Trish and Tiffany had the matching Toronto Maple Leafs, jerseys, those blue Maple Leafs jerseys, and Trish had the number 25 to represent 25 years of Stratisfaction. So congratulations to Trish Stratus. Excuse me. Congratulations to Trish Stratus for 25 years of pure Stratisfaction. And also another thing I want to talk about now, like I said, another thing I need to add to is Sports Illustrated came out with their list of the top 10 women's wrestlers of all time, and so like I'm going to give my thoughts about that as well. But yeah, of course, Trish and Tiff, hype up their match against Nia and Candace, and so to start off, we have Tiffany Stratton versus Chelsea Green, and starting off, we have Chelsea Green, Piper Niven interrupting Trish and Tiff as the United States Women's Champion. Said that she was glad she no longer lives in Canada. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, all right, then see what we're doing over here. You know what I mean? So it's pretty much like the opposite of Bret Hart. Bret was pro-Canada and anti-U.S. and things like that. Chelsea is a complete opposite. She must be the face of America, even though she's full-blooded Canadian, or whatever. And what's that? Tiffany challenged Chelsea to a match. Nick Aldis sent a rep down and make it official. And as soon as he returned from the break, the match was already in progress. And we saw Chelsea Green score 2 count right when the show came back from commercial. And of course they traded blows back and forth several times. But in the end, Tiffany Stratton, of course, with her slight edge when it comes to power. As far as that, but eventually the match ended in no contest. Because Nia Jackson canceled the raid, interfered. So so clearly that ended in no contest. And and next up we have Andrade versus Jacob Fatu. Nick Aldis announced a series of matches to determine the number one contender for the United States Championship. The first featured soloist to go again was fight Jacob Fatu, so he could face Andrade. And of course, the winner of this match, and no shade to Andrade, he's no slouch at all whatsoever himself. But and even though he has the advantage when it comes to speed and agility, but was a small werewolf. Jacob Fatu was just way too much for Andrade to handle. He defeated him with signature moonsault and valiant help from anyone in the group with no solo, and without solo or Tama Tonga. And And I mean, it was already given, especially because of Jacob Fatu's, his upside, his climb. So if there's anybody who I could see, eventually becoming the next U.S. champion, it would be Jacob. I mean, because this dude is a force to be reckoned with. He's definitely a Samoan werewolf for a reason, because I've said it before. If I were to compare Jacob Fatu to any comic book character, I would say it's Sabretooth. Just because of the aggression, just because of how vicious this dude is, how ruthless he is. You know what I mean? And he's just out for just straight up destruction. Destruction and chaos. That's exactly how I see Jacob Fatu, especially since he's calling himself a werewolf anyways. Kind of go hand in hand, if you will. But yeah, anyway, so of course, of course, it's Montez Angel Dawkins were making their way to the ring to take on Angel Garza and Bro Carrillo. They were attacked by DIY. And of course, we saw Los Garza pretty definitely, mostly machine guns, joining on the fight as well. And so the match never started because including security wasn't able to get control of the situation. So it was a tag team tornado, but not an official match. Then we see a video package for John Cena and Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre interrupted so he could rant about how he was sick of Cena, and took a shot at Cena's ball spot as well. So then we saw Damian Priest come out and told McIntyre to get over it, and call him a crybaby, it's like everything else. Then we see Seth Rollins, come out, just look like a giant oven mitt. They kept the trash talk going. Of course, a few moments later, the king of trash talk out of everybody, CM Punk. And I like how they were like two different conversations happening at the same time. So Punk and Rollins were having their dialogue on one end, and then Drew and Damian had their dialogue on the other. So it's like two sets of rivals, even though they are all fighting against each other, in one chamber. But it's like two separate rivalries happening at the same time. And so, so right after that, we hear Cena's, theme music. So we're thinking Cena's going to be coming out, only for Logan Paul to come out and be the epic troll that he is. You know what I mean? And so it's just like he's a heat magnet, and it's almost, pretty much almost like X-Pac type of heat, if you will. He's just the type of guy that you just do not want to see on your screen. And once again, it just not only do you want to punch him in the face, but it's so insulting to this day. I still think about the fact that Logan Paul has a higher rating on 2K24 than the likes of Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. And I find that highly insulting. Yes, Logan can perform, but to have him have a higher rating than two legends and icons of that caliber, no excuse at all, And I don't know if I'm the only one that's sounding alarmed about that, but the thing is, even when I bring it up to other people, they agree, And so, but yeah, like I said, Logan Paul is definitely a magnet for heat, and but unfortunately, it just goes to show that that if you're looking for the future of WWE as far as like the men's division, especially when it comes to this chamber match, Logan Paul is the only one available to be that guy, because everybody else are veterans. Especially when you look at when you look at guys like Cena and Punk, definitely the elder statesman of this match. You know what I mean? So Drew's definitely got his experience. Rollins, has quite a few miles on him as well. Damian Priest certainly, so it's just like, well, she got left. But yeah. But yeah, like I said, I would say that was definitely probably the segment of the night for me, honestly. Then we have LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. Was the second match for the number one contenders tournament, as we saw LA Knight take on Santos Escobar. And by the way, they did have a pretty good match. The last time that they were SmackDown DC, back in August of last year, that's when LA Knight was still the United States champion. And so of course, fast forward, the winner of this match is, of course, by pinfall, LA Knight. And then next up we have Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Strowman. And so, of course, and winner by disqualification is Carmelo Hayes, because he pulled Eddie Guerrero and made the ref think that Strowman used a chair, to knock him out. And so, they definitely did make Melo with a good opportunity. So, I like any tribute to Eddie that we can get. Then next up we have Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez versus Bayley, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. As as the Jade story, as the Jade turns, if you will, like as the world turns. Excuse me. Like I said, it's just the way that this story, continues to become even more compelling. And so of course the winners of this match end up being Roxanne, Liv, and Raquel. And there was even a point where where Liv's head almost to the announce table when Bayley took her down with suicide dive. What I mean? So of course, and the thing is, it was definitely a decent match. And then we saw Alexa Bliss showing up to attack Roxanne Perez at the end, and that's definitely become a very interesting point in itself. But yeah, like I said, the winners of this match were Roxanne, Liv, and Raquel. Then we have Carmelo Hayes versus LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu in a triple threat match, and the winner of of course the winner of this match ends up being LA Knight. And of course, last but not least, The Rock, gives Cody, he gives Cody one more ultimatum, at least one more opportunity to, give him his soul, if you will. And he talks about how how the dream had died, and he brought up and the way he did it, especially Rock was doing this, via satellite, how he pulled out the he pulled out the white weightlifting belt, and the belt had June 11th, 2015. For those that don't know, that was the day that Dusty died. And so, he's referring to, another dream that died. I was like, oh yeah, Rock is definitely going there. He's definitely going there. I was like, this is very intriguing, especially with so much, especially with how blurry this road to WrestleMania has been so far, how murky it's been. And just to, The Rock, definitely knew how to, how to call audible, how to, sort of pull a rabbit out of a hat, even when it came to, last year's build for WrestleMania 40. And so, it talks about, when Cody be his champion, Cody being his champion going into next year's WrestleMania in New Orleans. So he's already pre-planning ahead of time for New Orleans. It's just like, never mind Vegas. It is what it is, right? But yeah, next up, of course, this is the main topic of conversation right now: the Elimination Chamber, which took place in Toronto. I mean, when I say that this will go down as a great candidate for PLE of the year, along with the obvious WrestleMania, as well as the Royal Rumble. And we're going to see what SummerSlam is going to do, and what Survivor Series is going to do as well. But this right here is going to live on in history, And so, the 2025 Elimination Chamber took place in Toronto, hometown of Trish Stratus. And so the card for the Elimination Chamber, we see, like for the Elimination Chamber, we have the women's chamber match. We have Trish and Tiffany versus Nia and Candice. We also have KO versus Sammy in an unsanctioned match. We have and then we also have the men's Elimination Chamber. But things start off with the women's chamber, and when I say that, that this that this PLE got off to a burning hot start, like a fiery hot start. It certainly did, because I mean, they definitely came out swinging, especially when it came to this women's match. And when I say swinging, I'm talking about literally. So of course, starting off, so the participants were Liv Morgan, Naomi, Bianca Belair, Roxanne Perez, Bayley, and Alexa Bliss. So, so of course it starts off with Liv and Naomi getting ready to square off, right? Just staring across the ring from each other. Then you hear a storm is coming. And when I say a storm came, it came down raining thunder and lightning, because we saw Jade Cargill's return. We saw the return of the Jade, and she came back with an absolute vengeance. And so, I mean, when I say she stormed to the ring, no pun intended. I mean, and she, you could definitely see her eyes were locked in. Like, if looks could kill, that's what I'm saying. And so Jade goes to the chamber. She looks at Liv at first, and Liv is just begging and pleading for her life. She's like, Jade, it wasn't me. Sorry, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. No, it wasn't. I mean, she's begging and pleading. And so Jade looks at her. If you could read the lips, it's almost like, like, I know it wasn't you or something. It looked like she was saying that. So then, so then Jade gets her to the ring. It looks like, and the funny thing is, Naomi is in the corner. She's not expecting anything to happen to her, right? Because she's thinking that Jade's gonna, she's thinking that Jade's gonna pounce at Liv. Dead wrong, because just as Jade is looking straight at Liv, then she moves over to the left and just pounces on Naomi. You know what I mean? Jade beat the glow out of Naomi. She beat the glow out of her. She knocked all the sparkles, all the the disco lights out of that girl. Unlike Luther Vandross, Naomi was not in the glow of love. So I mean, like, and the thing is, Naomi, was the first one to get eliminated, by someone who was not even in the match to begin with. I mean, Jade went scorched earth on that, on that lady. I mean, it's like from throwing her all around the place, left and all around the chamber, left and right, and it gave her the meanest pump kick probably ever. I was like, oh, like right into the chamber. And you look at Bianca's just look of horror. She was terrified. Like she was seeing the boogeyman of Freddy Krueger. So I'm like, oh my God. And so first, like when Jade came in, she's like, yeah. And then we saw, Jade go after Naomi. She was just screaming, Bianca might as well, she got an Oscar for that performance. But of course, and then not only that, but Jade even slammed, Jade even slammed the chamber door on Naomi's head. And so, Naomi was out of there. No more glow for you. But it was definitely quite the way to start Women's History Month as well. You know what I mean? I was like, man. And so, but yeah, it's like, So yeah, so of course after that, and I was even cheering for Jade. You know what I mean? And so I was like, yeah, good for her. Good for you. You know what I mean? So but yeah, like I said, as far as that, and like I said, Naomi was was the only one that had been eliminated by the time the competitors were in the match, and so surprisingly, Bailey was the next elimination herself, and and of course after that she ended up being eliminated by Roxanne Perez, and Liv Morgan eliminated Alexa Bliss to narrow down the field to just her and Bianca as the final two, and they both came close to winning several times, and to the point where Bianca even used it, even used her braid as a whip. So the thing is, even though Black History Month was over, Bianca was like, nah, I gotta get one more, in. And the way the whip sounded, it was almost sound like a gunshot, like boom. And so of course, it finally ended with Bianca nailing Liv with the KOD for the pin and for the win. Pin win, that rhymes. But anyway, it was definitely a fun chamber match from beginning to end, from start to finish. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was like, all right, cool. I mean, other than that, it definitely set the tone for for what lied ahead, and it definitely definitely raised the bar for for the rest of the night moving forward. And so we saw that that Bianca had become the #1 contender, and she pointed to the WrestleMania sign, and it was great to see her dad cheer as well. I thought that was pretty cool. But it's definitely a good choice. But it also like to see how this story unfolds with her, Naomi and Jade. So definitely gonna be very interesting. While she also has has her hands full with Rhea and Io. You know what I mean? And with the way that all three of them was standing together at the ramp, and so I was like, okay, all right, well, I'm definitely game for how this is going to turn out. And next up, we have hometown hero Trish Stratus, Trishy Time, and Tiffy Time teaming up to take on Nia Jackson and Candice LeRae. And I was like, all right, cool. And of course we saw we saw of course we saw the irresistible force / immovable object Nia Jax come out along with the poison pixie Candice LeRae. As Trish hit Candice with the death press to get things going. Didn't take long for the fight to spill out the ring. So all four of them could end up getting involved. And of course, looked at times like Trish was kind of hesitant to do some things, but other times she just threw herself into the moves that she was doing. But yeah, of course, after a hot start, there was there was a little bit of a lull period in between that, but eventually things started pick back up. And long story short, Trish was able to pick up the win for her team by hitting her signature moonsault on Nia Jax. So when the winners of this match, Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus, Tiffany and Trishy Time and Tiffy Time were the winners. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, of course, like I said, of course, the winners of this match, were Team Trish and Tiff. I like the way that that they coordinated, even to the point that they were even dressing like too, because you could tell that Tiffany Stratton was heavily inspired by by Trish Stratus. I mean, like she definitely was raised on Trish. You know what I mean? So Trish's influence speaks volumes. Trish's, like I said, influence definitely speaks volumes. And so next up, of course, next up, this is where things really, really, got epically violent, if you will. We have the unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Eternal rivals, if you will. So the announcers began by reiterating that there are no rules. WWE takes no responsibility for what happens during this unsanctioned match. And this is not the first time that WWE's had an unsanctioned match, because I remember back in 2008, we had the unsanctioned match between Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho. So here we go when it comes to KO and Sami. Lights were turned down in the arena as Owens and Zayn circle each other in the ring. As KO threw the first punch, it was off to the races from that point on. Of course, Sami Zayn was definitely selling his injured neck a lot early on in the match, but it didn't take long for them to start digging under the ring to look for weapons, as they know how to do. After a few chairs were used, Sami Zayn grabbed the hockey stick since they were in Canada, to get a huge pop from the crowd. And since Canada's a hockey town anyway, and it was definitely a brutal fight that took both of them into the crowd, and they used everything that they could find to inflict the most damage possible. And the crowd was definitely eating this up, especially since both of them, are hometown stars themselves. You know what I mean? And their friends turned rivals. Dance partners ever since Ring of Honor. And so, I mean, like when I say that this was definitely, like I said, chaotic to the point where they even had, chairs wrapped with barbed wire. And I like how KO was talking trash to Sami in one corner, and as he's running to the other corner, Sami is right there on his trails, and it hits him with this haluva kick. It's like, man, and that. But then but then in the end, in the end, KO ends up getting the win with multiple power bombs on the apron, along with the pop-up power bomb, for the win. And so Kevin got the victory in that. And then all of a sudden you hear Randy Orton's, I hear voices in my head. And I was like, and the crowd just lost it. They lost their mouths. Like long awaited Randy Orton return. And Orton, I mean, he's definitely KO's kryptonite, because he nailed him with the RKO. And Randy was definitely hearing those voices, as he was about to go back into 2009, vintage murderer Randy Orton mode. As he was going to the corner, he's about to give KO a punt and kick his head off, only for the refs to stop him. I was like, come on now. So you could tell this is definitely gonna be their official match for WrestleMania. KO versus Orton. What night of Mania to be determined. But anyway, next up we have the men's Elimination Chamber. Last but not least, which has Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, John Cena, and CM Punk. And so Seth and Drew start off. The Toronto crowd was definitely anti-Logan Paul than anything else, especially with Logan taking out the American flag. I was like, yeah, super troll. But of course, Drew McIntyre was surprisingly eliminated first, and that was followed by Logan Paul eliminating Damian Priest with a frog splash. Especially after especially after Drew knocked out Damian with a Claymore kick. So I'm looking at it as now we're gonna have Damian versus Drew at WrestleMania, and so of course, a few minutes later, CM Punk eliminates Logan Paul with the GTS, as the crowd just loved it. And then he turns down a handshake from John Cena. He hugs him instead, but they started throwing punches. And then we have Rollins, Punk, and Cena as the final three, as all three of them have history in their own right between each other. And then Cena spent several minutes recovering after being put through one of the power windows. And once he recovered, he and Punk both hit Rollins with their finishers to eliminate him from the match. And then Rollins stayed at ringside and hit Punk with a curb stomp before watching Cena made Punk pass out with the STFU to score the win and earn a title shot against Cody Rhodes WrestleMania 41. But wait, there's more, because the way this match was structured was very surprising. Both so many big names, 1 or 2 eliminations, were definitely bound to feel like it was too early. But I like how Punk and Cena were the last 2, especially with them being dance partners. And so there were definitely various feuds that were being addressed in that match. And so afterwards, Cody comes out, congratulates Cena, and then the final boss comes out, and this is where Cody has to make his choice. Choosing life or death, if you will. Will he sell his soul to the final boss? See me. And Cody's talking about how he didn't have a soul to sell because he gave his soul in the ring, to his fans, entertaining them, being their champion and all this type of stuff. And this, this is where things just took a completely different turn. Because Cody goes on to tell The Rock, go F yourself. And, I was like, ooh, and the thing is for them to, for him to say that on a PLE and not be censored, I was like, whoa. I thought the first F-bomb was going to be on Netflix, said by CM Punk. But clearly I was dead wrong. And so, The Rock was taken back. I was like, oh, so you talking to the boss that way, the head of TKO, the TKO board. I was like, whoa, all right then. And so John Cena, daps him up, congratulates him, quote unquote, on the surface, pulls him in for a hug. Only while Cody's not looking, Cena's look changes. His eyes are locked in on The Rock. Cena has his eyes locked in on The Rock. And so The Rock does this. Yeah, he actually does one of these. Blows his kiss of death. And it's to look like he know what to do. And Cena did it. It was the turn seen all around the world. Sent shockwaves. As Cena pulls away from Cody, kicks him in the crown jewels and shatters his dreams, like gold dust, and just proceeds to go in on Cody, just wrecks him, where he nails, Cody with the Rolex, the gold Rolex, from his dad. You know what I mean? Clocks him with it. Knocks him out. At least knocks him out. At least twice with the belt. Chokes him with the tie. Cody's busted open, and and not only that, but also as I mentioned, that Travis Scott came out as well, along with The Rock. Travis Scott's definitely in his side quest mission, if you will, and during the match, during that moment, during that segment, let's just say Travis got a little trigger happy, if you will, and he legit slaps Cody, right in the head, and hits his eardrum. I was like, oh, okay, that was unscripted, but yeah, Cena just destroys Cody. Like he wrecks him, and like Cena's just, his look just changed to the point where he's just has a motionless look on his face, and he just holds the belt up. I was like, Cena just looked unrecognizable. It was almost terrifying, if you will. I was like, man, I don't think anybody's ever seen John Cena take that turn. He definitely went from the rebels to the dark side. What Luke was about to do in Return of the Jedi, but he didn't. If I could use comic terms to explain this, it was like Captain America joining Hydra. It's like Superman and Injustice. It's like RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., going from Iron Man to Dr. Doom. That's what this Cena heel turn feels like. That's what the equivalent of it is. And he's become Hollywood Cena. He's gone to pretty much the point of no return. So you want to talk about somebody who's willing to sell their soul? This is what Cena's doing, all for the sake of becoming a 17-time champion. But yeah, like I said, this is the ultimate. This is how low Cena would go, all for the sake of becoming a 17-time, WWE champion. And is very much evident, that he would stop absolutely nothing to reach that goal. And so, if I were to give this a rating, I would give about 4 out of 5. I guess because we're in Canada, maybe because it was in Canada, 4 out of 5 Trish Stratus championships. But if I were to give it, a belt grade, as we say on Perfect Plex. But yeah, then of course we're going to Monday Night Raw, and as I'm looking at it, of course I want to say Naomi did it, but more clues are starting to lead to Bianca as well. Because if you look at her change in demeanor, like, she's starting to morph into something somewhat completely different. You know what I mean? And you could definitely see that sort of cockiness coming out, especially with the way she was dressed on Monday with the all white. And so, saying that that she was checking on her sisters, or whatever. But then she was, talking about, how out of respect for Jade and Naomi, she didn't want to say anything. How it was, it was heartbreaking for her and all that, everything like that, like whatever. But it's just like, you definitely tell that another EST would be guilty, yes. But Raw, kicks off to a high start because CM Punk was fired up. So he was still enraged following that loss from the Elimination Chamber. He wasted very little time taking aim and firing shots. Punk unloaded the clip. You know what I mean? Like, he loaded off his M16 and went at The Rock, John Cena, and Seth Rollins. The guy who cost him his shot at WrestleMania 41. And and of course, like you talked about, Cena's being a phony, and he's talking about how his time is now to to reach his destiny, to reach his goal of being the main event of WrestleMania 41. And and like I said, Punk was enraged. He was irate. Just calling things BS and all this type of stuff, and while expressing his anger towards all three, calling the Rock and Ball fraud. You see them with rage. Unlike anything we've ever seen from him in a long time. And so this, his threats and anger brought Seth Rollins instant. Of course, talked about how Becky Lynch, better get her man before he puts him in a wheelchair. And that's when Seth Rollins came out, and of course that's when the brawl spilled out. And it's definitely Crash Out Mania this season. You know what I mean? CM Crash Out, and of course they just going at each other all night, and eventually separated during the commercial break, but not before the kickoff. Before kicking off Raw with the chaotic brawl once again, as I said before, and it was definitely a red hot start to the show, to pick up where Elimination Chamber left off, and Punk knows how to get the show kicked off on an epic start. Then the next up we have Otis versus Gunther, and the winner of that match, obviously Gunther. Of course, right after that we have Jey Uso Spirit Gunther, and so as far as that, backstage we also saw a little more Raquel Rodriguez keep an eye on the Women's Intercontinental Championship, hinting at the next program for whoever emerges from the title match. Then next we have, speaking of that, we have the Women's Intercontinental title match, Lara Valkyria versus Ivy Nile. And the winner of this match and still your Women's IC champion, Lara Valkyria. Then, Adam Pearce, made the big New York City announcement. Of course, we also have, and also, of course, especially with NXT taking place in NYC. And of course, backstage, Adam Pearce called for Seth Rollins, and their confrontation ended with the Raw GM informing Seth that he would square off with CM Punk next Monday. And meanwhile, Ludwig Kaiser, cut a promo on Penta, which brought Penta out to the square circle. It was definitely back and forth between those two. And I definitely like to see this feud with Penta and Kaiser, as it's definitely going to elevate Kaiser more than ever before. Meanwhile, backstage, Bianca, continues to plead her innocence in the attack that took out Jade Cargill and put her on the shelf, and it's just like, although her demeanor says otherwise, and definitely more on that later. And of course, when it comes to the World Tag Team Championship, we have the War Raiders versus the Creed Brothers. Great match. The winners of this match are still your tag team champions, the War Raiders. Then we have the Judgment Day targeting Braun Breaker, and so you're definitely going to see Braun Breaker, versus Finn Balor, if you will. And Finn's definitely been a great opponent for Braun. And so I was like, and Dominic Mysterio is inserted into the match, definitely going to serve even further tension between the Judgment Day. That's the last thing that they need right now. And the main event, last but not least, a surprise. We have the Women's World Championship match, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. Great match, only for Bianca to be standing at ringside. And so it's definitely, whoever wins this has a date against Bianca for the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. And so after Rhea utilized her power side to advantage, Io Sky slowed things down and targeted Rhea's left arm. She shook it off and delivered a missile dropkick. And then the Genius of the Sky continued to focus her attention on the left arm, so that way, make it hard for Rhea to use the riptide. And Rhea is all about power and strength anyway. But it was Io who delivered over the moonsault. Only have Rhea's advantage come into play as she managed to drape her foot over the bottom rope. And then the champion caught Bianca applauding Io, and so that's when the distraction hit. And so this distraction definitely allowed Io Sky to recover enough to counter a riptide from the top rope with a Hurricane Rana and deliver her moonsault for the win. A surprise, an upset. I was like, man, definitely a strong match. I was connected by a very necessary interference from Bianca. Now I'm like, so does this mean that, us getting Rhea versus Bianca is thrown out the window? So initially I'm like, I was not a fan of the outcome myself personally, but at the same time, it's just like, there's no way that they're gonna leave Rhea off the WrestleMania card. So eventually it's gonna come down to a triple threat match. Because obviously Rhea is way too valuable to be left off the card, and we don't need any more Rhea versus Liv matches anymore. And especially when it comes to WrestleMania, there ain't no way that that's gonna be selling no tickets like that. Like, nah. But obviously, spoiler alert, I believe it's gonna end up being a triple threat match. But like I said, the highlights were Rhea's upset. Io's upset to become the new champion on Raw, by the way. The other highlight, was the crash out brawl between Punk and Seth Rollins. And so it was definitely a very intriguing week when it comes to wrestling. And of course, another thing I want to bring up, since I have a little bit of time left, let's go into NXT. As we have, like some of the, of course, we have the North American Championship on the line between Shawn Spears and Tony D'Angelo. And of course, we also have the announcement, that Musa Obafemi are going to wrestle each other next week. Of course, next week in New York at the Barclays Center for the NXT Championship. Mm-hmm. And also we saw the Hardy Boys face off, and confront Fraxium, as they're going to face each other next week as well. So it's nothing but a build up to next week's big NXT. As we see, as NXT kicks off with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Sol Ruka and Zarya, and the winners of this match, Sol Ruka and Zarya, especially with Zarya, just throwing Piper Niven on Chelsea Green, kind of like almost like a giving her F5, like F5 and Piper on Chelsea. I thought that was pretty cool. And then Sol Ruka did the Soul Snatcher on Chelsea. I was like, man, it was a great match in and of itself. And then next up we have like I said, of course, Sol Ruka and Zarya won by pinfall with the Soul Snatcher from Ruka on Chelsea. Then we have Jada Parker versus Kalani Jordan. Jada Parker wins by way of pinfall with a running knee. And of course, we see the Hardy Boys, actually, I'm sorry about that. After, like I said, we see the Hardy Boys walking backstage as they go to break, and then as they come back from the commercial, we see the clips of the Obafemi press conference. And so he says he has to take represent the NXT brand likely, and next week he and Moose are gonna go head to head, but he's not gonna lose and see a TNA wrestler running around with the NXT Championship on his waist or his shoulder. So of course Moose meets him in the size department, but he's not a slouch himself either. But it's just like, like as far as that, then Moose, of course, responds, and he's definitely gonna confirm that it's gonna be him versus Ova, for the NXT Championship next week. And so as far as that, like I said, definitely I just see, with Fraxium. Like I said, with Fraxium and the Hardy Boys gonna end up doing. Then next up we have we also have Corey Jade versus Jordan Grace, and the winner of this match, Jordan Grace, by way of referee stoppage. And then we have a hostile promo or interview between Ethan Page and Javon Evans via satellite. I was like, man, and it was definitely hostile. You could definitely feel that, even for me watching. And Either Page or Miz was 100% jealousy. And if he could break Javon's jaw again, he's doing it in a heartbeat. He's more dangerous than he's ever been. And so Javon says nobody's ever going to hold him down again. Nobody's going to take his joy or his smile, you know. But yeah, you know, but then next up we have Trick Williams versus Kale Dixon, and Trick Williams just blasts him with a trick shot, and he hammers him, and to the point where the ref had to stop the match, you know, immediately. And Trick won by referee stoppage. And after the match, Eddie Thorpe shows up to the balcony and calls Trick out. And so next up, the next match is going to be NXT Underground, Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe. And the main event, we have Shawn Spears versus Tony D'Angelo for the NXT North American Championship. And the winner and your new NXT North American champion is Shawn Spears. And even right before that, we saw backstage, backstage interaction between Ricky Saints and Ridge Holland. And but yeah, like I said, your new NXT North American champion is Shawn Spears, and so that is it when it comes to the weekend wrestling. And when it comes to, you know, the Sports Illustrated, you know, Sports Illustrated's top 10 women's wrestlers of all time, it's definitely a conversation starter. I'll say it's one of the best, if not the best list that they've put out so far. You know, their top 20 wasn't too bad, but this one, I think when it comes to the names, they really hit the nail on the head. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. You know, it's not often that I agree with, you know, anybody's list, even when it comes to Sports Illustrated. But I respect people's lists. You know, depends on who's on it and, you know, what I may have in common with. But this right here, absolutely, I definitely, when it comes to the names themselves, had everything in common with that. I was looking, I was like, these are the identical names, like exact identical names I have on my own list. I'll just rearrange the order. But when it comes to the names, chef's kiss. You know, but like I said, when it comes to the ranking of it, that's a different story altogether in my estimation. So when it comes to the women that are on this list, number one, they had Becky Lynch. Number two, number two was Charlotte Flair. Number three, Trish Stratus. Number four was Lita. Number five, Sasha Banks. Now Mercedes Moné. Number six was number six was Bayley. Number seven was China. Number eight was Asuka. Let me look at this list again. Because after all, I'm the one I was sending it out to people. So bear with me for a minute. But yeah, like I said, when it comes to that, you know, I would say that, you know, like I said, the thing is, you know, I would say that, you know, that when it comes to, like I said, when it comes to the names, not so much of an issue, but when it comes to like the order of it, I'm like, you know, because for one, when it comes to top five, China has to be in the top five, not just top 10, but five in of itself, just because of, you know, because of the impact that she made, being an attraction, being the ninth wonder of the world, being, you know, the blueprint for the likes of Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? It's like she transcended the women's division. You know what I mean? So, you know, so as far as that, she was, you know, the first woman to, you know, to really go toe to toe with the men and be believable with it. And so, let me see. I know I have it. Yeah, here it is. No, I got it. Oh, here it is. Yep. Oh yeah, like I said, you know, yeah. So as far as that, number one, Becky Lynch. Number two, Charlotte Flair. Number three, Trish Stratus. Number four, Lita. Yes, I was getting around the top, especially the first half. Number four was Lita. Number five was Sasha Banks. Number six, Bayley. Number seven, China. Number eight, Asuka. Number nine, Bianca Belair. Number 10, Alundra Blaze / Medusa. So there's your top 10 right there. Not bad. I'll just make a few switcheroos, adjustments here and there. So like I said, number one, Becky, you know, she's number one. She was the only woman on the Sports Illustrated top 20 wrestlers list. You know, she was the only woman on that list. So like I said, number 1 was Becky, number 2 Charlotte, number 3 Trish, number 4 Lita, 5 Sasha / Mercedes, number 6 Bailey, 7 China, 8 Asuka, 9 Bianca, 10 Medusa. Very ironclad, a very, very ironclad list, if I do say so myself. You know, you ain't getting no argument out of me, but you know, like I said, like I said, once again, great names. Like all I would do is just rearrange some of the, just rearrange the order a little bit. But yeah, you know, other than that, like I said, you know, they hit the nail on the head in other areas. But yeah, so that concludes this week's episode. And before I go, I would like to give birthday shout outs. This past weekend, you know, of course, March 1st, Booker T turned 60. Big E turned 39. Lupita Nyong'o turned 42. Chris Webber turned 52. Then fast forward to March 4th, Bobby Womack would have turned 81. On March 5th, Bishop Marvin L. Winans of the legendary Winans turned 67. The late great Lady Tina Marie would have turned 69. Yeah, of course, NFL Hall of Famer and Cowboys legend Michael Irvin, legendary wide receiver Michael Irvin, turns 59. On March 6th, the Diesel himself, of course, you know, legendary center and NBA Hall of Famer, 4-time NBA champion, the Diesel himself, Shaquille O'Neal, on March 6th turns 53. On the same day, D.L. Hughley turns 62. On March 8th, Leon, better known as David Ruffin from the Temptations, turns 63. On the same day, Chad Gable turns 39. Melina turns 40. March 9th, Melina turns 46. Excuse me. On the same day, Rick Steiner turns 64. Jeffrey Osborne turns 77. YG turns 35. And of course, Krista B from those Wrestling Girls also turns 35 as well. March 9th. March 10th, Timberland turns 53. Jasmine Guy turns 63. Pamela Oliver turns 64 on March 10th. Of course, Kiki Wyatt turns 43. On March 11th, Shad Moss, also known as Bow Wow, turns 38. And Anthony Davis turns 32. And that's it when it comes to birthdays. And before I go, I would like to give a word of wisdom. Is that, you know, when you have anyone else to encourage you, there are times where you have to encourage yourself and pursue all that God wants you to pursue. So that's my word of wisdom. And also remember that greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. When you put God in the first place, you don't have to worry about it being in the last place. Please make sure to listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else that you download podcasts. You can even watch on YouTube. But like I said, thank you very much for watching and listening. And may this day be the very best day of your life.